At the beginning of the 19th century, Washington, D.C. was still a young and unfinished capital. The city had been officially founded only a few years earlier, and much of it remained undeveloped. Wide avenues cut through empty land, government buildings stood isolated, and muddy roads connected scattered neighborhoods. In 1800, Washington officially became the capital of the United States. President John Adams moved into the White House, which was still under construction. The city was small, quiet, and far from impressive, but it carried enormous symbolic importance as the center of the new nation. Disaster struck in 1814 during the War of 1812. British forces invaded Washington and set fire to major government buildings. The White House, the Capitol, and other structures were burned. For a moment, the future of the Capitol itself seemed uncertain. Yet Washington was rebuilt, and its role as the nation's capital was reaffirmed. By the 1820s, the city slowly began to stabilize. Government institutions expanded, new residential areas appeared, and Washington started to take a more recognizable shape. The city remained small, but its political influence continued to grow. In 1846, a major territorial change reshaped the city. The land south of the Potomac River was returned to Virginia, reducing Washington's original size. This decision defined the city's boundaries as they exist today. The 1850s brought growth and tension. Washington's population increased, infrastructure improved, and the city became more active. At the same time, deep divisions over slavery and politics intensified, setting the stage for conflict. In 1861, as the war began, the city became the center of the Union War effort. Troops flooded the streets, military camps appeared on the outskirts, and forts were built to defend the capital. Washington evolved from a quiet political town into a heavily guarded military stronghold almost overnight. By 1862, dozens of hospitals had been established across the city. Wounded soldiers arrived daily, changing the rhythm of life and turning Washington into a center of wartime medicine and logistics. The population surged as soldiers, government officials, and freed African Americans moved into the city. In 1863, following the Emancipation Proclamation, Washington became a powerful symbol of freedom and a destination for formerly enslaved people seeking protection and a new beginning. Thousands arrived in the city, drawn by the presence of the federal government and Union forces. New communities began to form on the city's outskirts and within its neighborhoods, reshaping Washington's social structure. During the war years, these changes permanently altered the city's identity and laid the groundwork for a more diverse capital. In 1865, tragedy struck at the heart of the nation. President Abraham Lincoln was assassinated at Ford's Theater. The city mourned deeply, and Washington became a place of national grief and remembrance. From that moment on, the capital was not only a seat of power, but also a symbol of sacrifice and memory. After the war ended in 1865, Washington entered a period of Reconstruction and rapid modernization. In 1871, the federal government reorganized the city's administration, allowing large-scale urban improvements to begin. Streets were graded and paved, sewer systems installed, and public buildings expanded. Washington began to resemble a true capital of an industrializing nation. Throughout the 1870s, infrastructure projects transformed Washington's appearance at an unprecedented pace. Streets that had once been muddy and uneven were graded and paved. Gaslighting illuminated major avenues, improving safety and extending city life into the night. Transportation systems expanded, making movement through the capital more efficient. New neighborhoods emerged, bringing structure and order to what had once been an unfinished and fragmented plan. By the 1880s, Washington had gained new confidence and national visibility. The city no longer felt temporary or uncertain. Monuments, museums, and grand public architecture reflected America's growing power and ambition on the world stage. Government institutions expanded in size and influence, and Washington's role as a permanent national capital was no longer questioned. The city began to project stability, authority, and purpose. In 1885, the Washington Monument was finally completed after decades of delays and political setbacks. Rising high above the city, it became the most prominent symbol of the nation, and its first president. The monument reshaped the skyline and gave Washington a powerful visual identity. It reinforced the city's monumental character and its role as a place of national memory and pride. By 1890, Washington's population had more than doubled compared to the pre-war years. Electric streetcars connected distant neighborhoods, making the city feel smaller and more unified. Public parks expanded, civic spaces improved, and daily life became more organized and modern. Washington was no longer an experiment in governance. It was a functioning, connected, and growing capital. As the century came to an end in 1899, Washington, D.C. stood fully transformed. What had once been an uncertain capital carved from farmland had become a stable and enduring center of American governance. Its streets, institutions, and monuments reflected nearly a century of struggle, rebuilding, and vision. The foundations of the modern city were firmly in place, ready to lead the nation into the 20th century. The 1800s shaped Washington through struggle, war, rebuilding, and vision. Every avenue, monument, and institution tells a story born in this century. By the dawn of the modern era, Washington was no longer just a plan on paper. It was the heart of American democracy.